Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, welcome to my channel. I am Martina Lily if you are new here, and today we are doing another episode of Buy This, Not That, putting hyped makeup products against each other. So I have gone through my collection and gotten products that are same but different and are quite hyped up, and I'm going to put them onto the test. One half of my face has one half of the products and the other half has the other half, and we're gonna see which one's better. So hopefully that sounds interesting. Do the YouTube things like subscribe, notification bell, and let's get started. I do have a video on this topic already on my channel. I'm going to link that down below. Let's call that episode 1. And essentially, like I said in the intro, I just pick really popular products that are quite similar to each other, and I tell you guys why I might favor one or the other, or why you might specifically favor one or the other, because I do find sometimes in these videos both of the products are actually pretty good. There might just be reasons that you specifically might buy this, not that, if that kind of makes sense. I also do b-roll, so there's going to be like me talking this through, and then there will be b-roll of like the product and a swatch of the product plus me applying said product and you comparing them. I've been wearing this makeup, so one half has one half, you know, all of the products are on my face right now. I've been wearing this for like 5 or 6 hours now, and I've been filming for 5 or 6 hours now. So if I'm looking a little haggard, that's why, but you're kind of seeing these products warning, I guess. First up, I thought we would pit these two foundations against each other. So this is the Haus Triclone foundation versus the new Saie foundation. Now, you guys haven't actually seen the Saie foundation on my channel yet. I've been testing this for about a week now. Kind of know how I feel, but also when I was trying these, I was like, these two products are kind of same but different, and I feel like I feel like I could see people asking me which one is better of these two. So let's talk about the Saie first. The Saie is called the Glowy Super Skin Foundation. I have the shade number 7, and it's a touch too dark for me, sorry. And it does oxidize a little bit. So when I first applied this foundation to my face, I did mix a little bit of my white LA Girl pigment into it. And when I did that, when I applied it, I definitely noticed that first layer that I applied of this particular product, it was a better shade match, but it did mattify this foundation ever so slightly and I think when I put the second layer of this foundation on, when you see that in the b-roll, you'll notice that it looks a lot more dewy, because the name of this Glowy Super Foundation Gel, good lord, that is a name for it, because this is the glowiest, dewiest foundation I've ever put on my face, period. It is so glowy, so dewy. For me, this is like a no. Like, I do not like this foundation, and I'm sorry, Saie. I really like the Saie brand. This is just too dewy for me. At the best of times, I don't like a lot of glow. I've been dipping my toes into the glow and to the dew kind of waters more and more over the past year, but this has gone too far. Okay, we've crossed a line. It just doesn't work for me. I am a combination skin girl. It's too oily for me. It looks too oily for me. I have to powder the heck out of it to make it work at all, but also it's like, for me, dewy foundations and glowy foundations can take this step where it like ages me 10 to 20 years. It makes me look haggard, and that's what this has done. When I apply this, it really emphasizes my pores or any texture I have on my face, and I just look older. I don't look healthier. I don't look smoothed. I don't look good. In my opinion, I just do not look good. I also don't find this has enough coverage for me at all. It's really sheer, and it's just not a foundation for me, if I'm honest with you. Now, the other one is the Haus Triclone foundation. I have this shade 110 light neutral. It's a much better shade for me. This is quite similar in the sense that it's like skincare, it's dewy, all of that kind of stuff, but this just looks so much more lovely on my skin. It's so much more smoothing. I felt like when I was applying this side, like this side of my face just looked so much better than this side. This one still probably isn't as like filter effect as I would like, but it's a very nice natural skin foundation, and in the winter when my skin is dry, this is actually like perfect. But it's not as dewy. It doesn't cross the line of too dewy where my skin looks like aged and haggard like the Saie one does. This one's also a lot more long wearing and has a lot more coverage to it. So I just feel like for me, this one is like more suited to my preferences and my skin type. But I think if you're someone that likes extra, like if you've got the driest skin of all time, you might really like this. If you like a very sheer coverage and that shine, then you'll probably like this. But otherwise, I think if you're someone like me who wants like a a pinky toe dip into the world of dewy foundation while still offering that coverage level and a more like smoothing effect on the skin, you probably want to go with the Haus Labs. Next up, let's talk about two concealers that instantly when I saw the new Tom Ford Traceless Soft Matte Concealer, I thought of the Cle De Peau Concealer. And when I did my review of the Tom Ford Traceless Soft Matte Concealer, so many of you guys said you wanted to see it compared to the Cle De Peau. So I picked up the Cle De Peau to compare it, and I've actually done multiple tests side by side of this concealer so that I could really tell how I think. And what was interesting to me is in this application in this video, when I applied the Tom Ford over the Saie Super Glowy foundation, this Tom Ford stick did not look as good as it normally does. And I think it must have just mixed a little bit with that foundation. It just doesn't create as good of a finish as what it normally would. But normally this one is way more lovely than what it's probably going to look in this application video, okay? Now I use the Tarte Colored Clay Color Corrector underneath on both sides so it's completely even, and then I use clean brushes on both sides so that, you know, nothing was tainted. Normally, I mean, you need to check out my review on this for in-depth thoughts. I really love this concealer. It really does feel traceless on the under eye. It's a lovely finish. It's very smoothing. It's very lightweight. It's very long wearing, and it's, I mean, it probably could just have a little bit more coverage levels to me, but I don't mind building it up for the sake of the actual finish of this. My under eyes don't look super great now though, just to be honest. I've been filming for such a long time. I'm haggard now. The Cle De Peau concealer, I don't love as much as the Tom Ford concealer. It is very, very similar. I can see the similarities. Gosh, they're similar at the start of the day, but it's at the end of the day for me that these start to look a little bit different. This one at the start of the day usually looks quite nice, and honestly at the start of the day I feel like on the other wear tests I've done, at least, you just can't tell the difference. I feel like in this application video, from what I was seeing in the mirror, I don't know how it translates to camera, this was looking nicer, but I think it's just because the Haus Labs foundation is nicer. This one is like more drying on the under eye. It's not as hydrating or smooth, ever so slightly, but by the end of the day, this one, like, and I feel like I can even see it now, like this one is just like really wearing away here. Like the longevity of wear time is not as good as what it is in the Tom Ford. The Tom Ford seems to wear really consistently throughout the day, whereas the Cle De Peau really does seem to kind of just wear away and settle in fine lines and cake up a little bit too much for me. So definitely the Tom Ford is more of the winner for me. Next, I pitted the new Milk Makeup Contour in the shade Toasted, so Sculpt Stick in Toasted, against the new Rare Beauty kind of contour shade Bright Side. I love this Rare Beauty formula. I already knew I would love the formula of this one. I have Happy Soul, which is more like a true bronze, whereas this Bright Side is more of like a neutral contoury color. And then this Milk Makeup one is, I actually love their matte bronzer of this as well, but this one is a true contour. So I put these side by side to kind of compare the shades more so than anything, because they are kind of like these contour shades, right? First up, we have the Milk Makeup, such a true contour. You can tell just from this application, it's like a gray contour. So if you want that true contour shade, then this is the one that you want to go for specifically. I really like this formula. If you like the matte baked bronzer, you probably really like this. I don't find it to be too matte. It's just a natural finish on the skin. It's really easy to blend out. It's not patchy or anything like that. I find this, you can draw this on the skin and then blend it out and it's fine. I have heard a couple of people not like this formula, but I personally really, really enjoy this, and it is like a solid contour. So don't use this as a bronzer in any way, shape or form, because it is a grayish toned contour, at least this specific shade. But I really, really like it. I don't like about this is the price, $39 for this, and it's like 5.7 grams. Whereas this one is 7 grams. And what did I pay for it? 1 second. I paid $45 for the Rare Beauty, and it's 7 grams. This one just seems so small. It's just, I don't know if I want to pay $39. It's like, yeah, so it's only $6 more to get like 1.3 more grams of product. So yeah, I don't like the price point of this. Formula of this Rare Beauty one, exceptional. It's so easy to blend out. I think you can tell from the application that a little bit goes a long way. Like this one, not as much product goes as far, but that's a good thing to me, because because this is your true contour with being grey, you really want to be able to apply this and then just blend it out concentrated in that one area. You don't really want to be able to blend a contour too far, you know what I mean? You need that to be strategic. Whereas this one does go a little bit further, but this one, the shade reminds me more of the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Stick in Light, where it's like, it is more sculpting than the Happy Soul. The Happy Soul shade is a true bronzer, so this one's going to have more sculpt and shade to it, but it's still enough of like more neutral warmth in it that it can probably be used as like a sculpt and a bronzer-ish, whereas like this one is a straight contour, you know what I mean? Like you could really see the difference in these shades side by side. The reason why you would pick one over the other of these is maybe price and value, 45 for more product versus 39 for less product, but really it's going to come down to the shade. You guys have been asking me to pit these two blushes against each other for a while, so this is the Too Faced Cloud Crush Blurring Blush in Candy Clouds. This one is a lovely, lovely formula. It really, really is. It's very, very blurring and smoothing on the skin. I wouldn't mind picking up another shade, actually. I think the formula of this Too Faced blush is truly impeccable. It is a lot more pigmented than the Dior one, and it is more of like an icy pink than the Dior one. I personally like the Dior one more because the Dior one is supposed to warm up to your pH levels, which I know always just turns out pink. That's okay, but I do find that it's just not as icy on the skin. It does warm up a little bit to where it's more of like a more just like flush, like a natural pink flush to the skin than the Too Faced. I find the Too Faced does go on that quite cool tone, like 80s pink. Still both beautiful, and I still really like having both, but I do truly think that in these particular shades, the Dior Rosy Glow is the winner for me. I also pitted the Gucci bronzer against the Victoria Beckham Beauty bronzer. Now both of these bronzers are pretty similar in cost. They're both very expensive. They're about like $100 Australian. Different shades for sure. This one is a little bit bolder of a shade than the Victoria Beckham, and the Gucci bronzer has a lot more pigment to it. You need to be a little bit more mindful of how you apply it versus the Victoria Beckham one. The Gucci bronzer is quite nice, don't get me wrong. It does get quite hyped up and it is nice, but it's forgettable. It's a forgettable formula to me. If it wasn't for the fact that it was Gucci and this packaging wasn't so beautiful, if you put this in like plain black packaging, for example, for me, I would forget it even existed in a heartbeat, if I'm completely honest. Whereas the Victoria Beckham one, I mean, again, it still has beautiful, luxurious packaging, but there's something about this formula. It is so smoothing and blurring on the, just ethereal is the word that I want to use on the skin. It's a lovely, lovely bronzer. I love that it has two shades that you can like tailor it to suit what you want. And I just find it to be super, super long wearing. And I just think that the application is more like, is simpler with this one. It's not as like, you don't have to worry about like how pigmented it is putting it on. And it's just the finish on the skin for me is way more memorable and lovely. Like I will always remember this bronzer, but I do quite often forget this one. I put the new Makeup by Mario, what are these called again? The Moisture Glow Plumping Lip Colors versus the Moisture Glow Plumping Lip Serum. So same but different, and really these are pretty much the same. I feel like you can pretty much tell in the application of this that sure, these ones probably have a little bit more pigment to them than the Moisture Glows, but like once it's been like 30 seconds, honestly they look pretty much the same. It's super, super hard to honestly tell the difference between these, and the wear time of these is exactly the same as these. I mean, these feel lovely on the lips, don't get me wrong. They're like a very, very, very pigmented lip balm. They are. I think I just maybe had a different expectation. I thought these were probably going to be more like a liquid lip because that's what they call them. They're not a liquid lip. They're just a liquid lip balm, essentially. And they're very similar. I don't even know what to tell you to pick more. I think probably the Moisture Glow serums, I think these might be a little bit more long wearing than these ones, if I'm honest. These aren't long wearing at all, but they both are very lovely. They both have beautiful shades and they're both very hydrating on the lips. So I don't know, either or. Lastly, you guys have been asking for me to compare the Pat McGrath Labs versus Natasha Denona. So that is what I'm doing. Now I chose Divine Rose 1 and then used Velvet Liaison for a transition shade because I felt like they were pretty similar to certain shades in this My Dream palette, which as you can see, I've got this eye with Natasha Denona and this eye with Pat McGrath Labs. So what I'm going to do is kind of talk you through what I think is kind of the differences between the two brands, and I have got an application and stuff like that, and I think what I'll do is put the application at the end of my explanation and you can just watch it straight through. I do feel like you can pretty much apart from this metallic purple shade on the eye here from Pat McGrath, the Divine Rose 2, honestly these look so close to being similar, right? Natasha Denona versus Pat McGrath Labs, and the reasons why you might pick one over the other. Truly, what I think it comes down to is Pat McGrath Labs special shades. The quality now is really similar between the two, but where Pat truly shines is her special shades right here. This is where she has a point of difference within the marketplace to me. The last two Mthrshps she's released, that point of difference with those special shades I think has diminished slightly, and I think it comes down to, I don't think the ingredients for these baked special shades that she used to do here, I don't think she can get them. It'll be interesting to see what this year's Mthrshps special shades are, because it's been the last 2 years, which is COVID-ish era, I guess. Yeah, I have a feeling it's sourcing products and stuff like that. And I think with her newer formulas of special shades, they're very different to anything Natasha Denona as well, but they're not unique to the market. I think a lot of indie eyeshadow brands in particular actually have a lot of formulas similar to those new Pat McGrath Lab special shades. Now, if you ask me about the kind of mattes in the Mthrshps versus the mattes in a Natasha Denona palette, I'm going to tell you 10 times over Natasha Denona's mattes are better. I think Natasha Denona really shines with her matte formula. It is impeccable. It pretty much blends itself out, and I've never really met, apart from maybe the pastel palette, I've never met a Natasha Denona palette, or matte, I should say, sorry, that hasn't been an absolute pleasure to use. They're very creamy, easy to blend out. They are really pigmented, but they're buildable and beginner friendly, and they're just a lovely, creamy, buttery matte formula. Whereas Pat's kind of never used to really be like that, but I will say Pat's new formula in her Love collection for her mattes is chef's kiss. It is, I actually think this formula is better than Natasha Denona. Do not come for me. I do. When I was using this versus the mattes in that My Dream palette today, this was easier for me to use. It really was. These are such a lovely, buildable, creamy, just easy to use matte formula. You could be a beginner and not know what you're doing and use these, but even if you're an expert at eyeshadow, it's still going to be absolutely just lovely to use these. So Pat's new matte formula, really, I do like it more than the Natasha Denona one, but Pat's older matte formula, I would definitely lean towards Natasha for. And then you have your metallics. Natasha has lovely metallics, don't get me wrong, she really, really does. I think her metallics, depending on the palette, are quite impactful. Sometimes they can not be. They can be a bit just, kind of middle line, but even then I think when she does that, it's quite strategic to the palette that she's put them in. I'm thinking Zendo. But I think her metallics are this one here as well. They're just really creamy. They're really creamy and metallic-like, and they're delightful to use. They're beginner friendly again, but even if you're an expert, you will absolutely love them. And I just think that she might not have any special shades, but her metallic formula is such a good, reliable, beautiful formula. I really, really do. I just don't think you can go wrong with her metallic formula. It's just that she doesn't have a point of difference in terms of her special shades. The closest thing she has to a special shade is the Glam Face palettes. I don't know about the new pink one, but the original ones, I don't know why she hasn't brought that formula out in more of her palettes, because she needs to. That formula is special and a point of difference for her, and that's the closest thing, but even then it's still not quite the same. But it's just her metallics are just so molten and divine, and they're beautiful. And I do think apart from the newer Pat McGrath Labs metallics, probably probably Utopian Dream and up, each time Pat has released palettes with metallics in them, they've definitely gotten creamier and creamier and creamier. And so, you know, Pat's metallic formula is right up there now with Natasha Denona for sure. Like, just absolutely stunning, absolutely beautiful, molten, metallic, creamy, just perfection. But again, the point of difference with Pat McGrath is her special shades, and that's what it comes down to. Both brands are stunning. Both brands are beautiful. You can probably get Pat McGrath Labs palettes a lot cheaper because she does a lot more sales than Natasha Denona. But I do like Natasha Denona's color stories. I think her color stories quite often aren't repetitive. And also her color stories are really everyday person friendly most of the time, I find. So yeah, but I don't know, it's such a personal preference. I love both. I love having both in my collection. They both bring me joy. I mean, only you can decide. I always just say go with the color story that inspires you the most. Truly, I really do. I think they're both high quality brands. Okay, that wraps up this episode 2 of Buy This, Not That. Again, you know, the buying this, not that is really going to be personally dependent on you and your preferences, but I hope this was helpful in some way, shape or form. Let me know your thoughts down below, and let me know any particular products for the next episode that you might want to see go up against each other. If you're watching till this point, you're an absolute legend. Thank you so, so much. If you're still here and you want to give me a like and a subscribe, I appreciate it. And other than that, I hope you have the most amazing day wherever you are in the world, and I will see you next time. Bye!